For those who are planning to or are already in America, looking for new ways to earn money, have seen an ad for a wall printer in their country, and are wondering how to get into this business or learn more about wall printers. Whether this business is right for them, how much money it will take to get started, and when they can expect to break even. Right now, there is a printer for sale that is already in America. A person bought it a year ago. He tried to work, but he doesn't have enough time to really going because this is like a second income for him. As a result, he couldn't swap one job for another. A quick start isn't happening with wall printing. If you're interested, check out the review of the printer. What's the advantage? You no longer need to buy from China, wait for delivery, and end up with a pig in a poke. So, it's all pretty simple. You can even come to see it. It's located just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You can call, you can come and see how it works and make a decision about the purchase. The printer is actually amazing. Great quality. This is one of the latest modern developments. The company that produces the printer specializes in a very narrow field, only for printers. It doesn't make engravings like other Chinese companies do, so it specifically makes the printer from the best components. This printer can be purchased from the representative office in America. This kind of printer costs $30,000, just so you know. $30,000. And the most important thing when buying a wall printer is service. This printer owner, he will tell you everything and explain step by step how to work, how to set it up, how to run a business. And this is the best option when you communicate directly with a person, rather than through distributors or Chinese managers who barely understand English. The representatives in America for similar printers, not this brand, but other manufacturers, really don't know much about wall printing. They just act as intermediaries. So, to avoid overpaying, and to have direct contact with a real engineer who understands the printer's settings, believe me, this is one of the key factors for success in this business, specifically the technical experience and setup of the printer. So, check out the video review from the owner himself. Ask questions. If you've watched until the end and still have questions and you're interested in trying your hand at this business, drop me a comment, get in touch, and I'll connect you with the printer owner.
Hello everyone, my name is Valerie, and I live near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I'm selling this wonderful wall-mounted printer. Now I will briefly tell you the whole story of why I came to the decision to buy this printer, how I bought it, how I used it, what went wrong, and why I decided to sell it. So, from the very beginning, I, like many of you, worked and still work for someone else. And I've always had a dream of starting my own business, a small production, my own little venture. And when I first saw the idea of this wall printer on TV, I was really inspired. And I've always dreamed of starting my own business, a small production, my own little venture. And when I first saw the idea of this wall printer on TV, I was really inspired. I thought the idea was just fantastic. And when I first saw the idea, this wall printer on TV, I was really inspired. The idea seemed just fantastic to me. The very thought that you could apply any image with photographic quality to a wall was just amazing. I thought the idea was just fantastic. So the very thought that you could apply any image with photographic quality to a wall was just amazing to me. I thought it was great, really cool, and that it would work. So I started gathering information, and yes, it's actually a very growing business, quite popular already in certain countries. And I wanted to join this movement, so to speak. The question of purchasing came up, and I wanted to join this movement, so to speak. The question of purchasing came up. I started evaluating the market, and came to the following conclusions. That is, if you're thinking about buying a quality product that will last you many years and make you money, then you need to buy a good printer. But the best solution is German printers. They are incredibly good, but they are also incredibly expensive. So my budget wouldn't allow me to buy such a printer. Next come, well, probably like everywhere else. Next come our Chinese. And the Chinese probably all know that there are bad Chinese, there are average ones, there are good ones. And I chose a good Chinese one, just like with my car. I have a Hyundai, so I have no problems at all. It's a good company. I'll show you the name later. They have a website and a YouTube channel. So, why did I choose this company? It's a good company. I'll show you the name later. They have a website and a YouTube channel. Why did I choose this company? Because essentially it's a kind of startup, a Chinese startup. So this young company makes cool devices. I'll even say that they recently made a device based on the print head that I'll show later. They created their own device that prints not only on walls but also on floors. But that's a whole different story. Here it is. The point is that this company manufactures these printers themselves. You don't plan to have a bunch of spare parts there. I contacted two people, Alex, who is the manager, and Adam, that's his name, and he is the engineer directly involved, as well as the support service, and he is also the chief designer of this printer. I have all the phones, I'll provide everything, there's no problem with that. So, I read the reviews, looked at the specifications, and by that time I had already started to understand the specs, how many print heads there should be, what the print resolution should be, and what kind of ink to use. So based on all these requirements that I set for myself, I decided to buy this particular printer. I'll show the specifications separately on a piece of paper. You can pause later and just read them or check out the company's website. I got in touch. Next was the purchasing process. Actually, the delivery was by sea. Well, actually, the printer arrived for me about a year and a bit ago. It was the end of last summer. Not this summer, but the one before. And then I'll tell you how things unfolded and what went wrong. So now just a bit of numbers, a little more information for those who might actually be considering such a purchase. First of all, what's the price? There are no secrets. It's completely open information. This is about the shape. So how much did this cost me? I'll show you in a second. I paid $13,800 for... That's the total amount I spent on this printer. Well, I should mention that I got the extended package. I'll show you what this extended package included. And here it is. Here is the package. So for those who are interested, you can pause, take a look and read. That's about the money. Now the printer itself, again, yes, I repeat, everything is on the website. You read it. The specifications, I must say, are impressive to me. Description of the inks. Description of the inks used, type of ink. So this is the company Epson, the unique Epson inks. Nasdar is the ink. Main top is the software. It's time to show the printer itself. It's in excellent condition, both technically and externally. Why? Because this printer hasn't left this place and hasn't been taken out. So when I bought it, it stood at our home for a while. Well, then my family started to protest and I had to move it. Where I am right now is, well, in English terms, an American test storage. This is how it all looks. The print head unit. Here I got it. Now we have 2 rails assembled on the floor. That's over 2 meters. I got the extended package, which includes 3 more rail sections here. That's 3 here, 2 there, totaling 5. You can lay out over 5 meters along the wall. We have 2 on the floor and 3 with wheels, all with guides. This can be purchased separately with the 5-meter setup. The printer can extend upwards over 5 meters. So here we have 3, here 2, that's 5. In total, you can lay out a segment of over 5 meters along the wall. Right now we have 2 assembled on the floor and 3 with wheels, all with guides. This can also be purchased separately with the 5-meter setup. This is the whole story. This is all added in. My storage conditions don't allow it, but this printer can be extended upwards, reaching over 5 meters in height. So, we have over 5 meters in height. And you can lay out over 5 meters. How the whole story developed and why everything went a little differently than I planned. The fact is that the main condition for the normal full functioning of this printer is its uninterrupted continuous operation. It doesn't mean that it has to print for 8 hours straight all day, but it should work at least once. Well, it's even stated in the technical documentation, at least once every 3 days. And unfortunately, it turned out that I couldn't provide this printer with enough workload. What happens if this printer doesn't work at least once every 3 days? The thing is, ink is a very complex chemical compound. Well, that's fine for colored inks, but here we have white ink. A lot of them are used here, so many that there are ink containers here. And since white ink is used up more, there are 2 of them. All the other colors have 1 each. There are 2 containers for the white ink. And white ink is a bit different from the other inks because in addition to the liquid, it contains, well, let's call it fine sand, some kind of particles, to make the paint dense. And it's precisely in these tiny particles that are part of the white paint where the whole problem lies. Because when this paint sits, the white one, it starts to dry up. These particles begin to harden and coke, and since we are talking about micron channels here, especially in the print head, then this coking is either very difficult to remove by washing or completely impossible. So, from my 1.5 years of experience, a 3-day break is really not a problem. 4 to 5 days, well, you need to run some tests, meaning you should print some test strips for a while. 4 to 5 is, well, you need to run some tests, meaning you should print some test strips for a while. For 6 to 7 days now, either you're printing a lot of test strips or you're removing the head and cleaning it. For this device to function properly, you either need to have constant usage so that you're printing. I'll explain later how much you should be printing, but at least once every 3 days, preferably more often. Or you need to have a space, like I do, for maintenance, for cleaning the head, and for cleaning the dampers. So it turned out that specifically in my case, in my life situation, I couldn't and won't be able to provide this printer with either usage or proper maintenance in the near future. As for usage, yes, I printed, and I repeat once again, it never printed on the walls, not even once. This printer is constantly here in storage. I started printing because I needed to find a way out of the situation. A lot of money had been spent from the family budget, and I had to somehow fix things. I started printing paintings for sale. I'll tell you and show you a bit later what I printed and how I printed it, just in a couple of minutes. But that wasn't the point. The printer was used a bit improperly, so yes, it prints pictures, it can print them, but its main purpose is still not to print pictures on canvas. It should be printing on the walls. It hasn't printed on the walls. And the second point is maintenance. So when you buy it, you need to factor in that you should have some kind of garage or, I don't know, maybe your own production workshop. For what purpose? Because the print head unit starts to get clogged a bit, and it needs to be cleaned. And you need to have a space. So I made myself a space like this. I'll tell you what I have here on the table for cleaning and what it's for. Here we have several liquids, a syringe, screwdrivers, hex keys, and some cotton. And it didn't print for me. There was no usage. I printed a painting, but I did it rarely. And in order to simply maintain it, well, okay, you're not printing, but you at least have to keep it in working condition. But no, I had to get in the car, drive for 15 minutes, and bring it in for testing. And since I couldn't go every 3 days, because I was working, I only came on the weekends. By the weekends, the print head would already start to get a bit clogged, and I had to spend a lot of time on printing. I took off this print head and placed it here on the table. Cleaning, unclogging. I was bringing it back to working condition. Well, you see, it was extremely troublesome for me. I mean, coming to the storage every 7 days and spending, well, an hour or an hour and a half just to clean the head and print something, at least for a test. So these are basically the main points that explain what went wrong. So I couldn't get this printer to work. When you buy a printer, you need to clearly understand that this printer should be working for you from day one. Well, not from the very first day, of course, but after the time you spend learning the software and gaining printing skills. In minimal mode, it should at least print pictures, as I will show now. In normal mode, for which the printer is designed, it should print paintings on walls and bring joy to you in terms of income and to your clients with beautiful artworks. It didn't work out for me. I had the printer sitting, and it's still sitting now in the storage in the garage, which is a 15-minute drive from my house, and I don't have time. So it's time to tell you, or rather show you, what this printer is capable of. It has amazing technical specifications, print resolution, and print quality. Since I haven't printed on walls, I've printed paintings, custom paintings, and now I'll show you a few paintings that I still have unsold. And I would like to draw your attention to the print quality. Now I'll show you more of the technical capabilities of this printer. This is what it does. Really well, it prints beautifully on glass. And this was an order from one business. Here it is as mentioned in the title. I made a large one for them and a smaller copy for myself. So they have this hanging in the lobby. So here's the glass. I don't know how well this will show up. And 2 printing options. This is all done in the settings. So this is what they call stained glass printing on glass. It's stained glass in the sense that it's translucent. Let me show you somehow. But it in general is translucent. And the same image, but this time it's opaque printing, not stained glass. Amazing view. How can I show it to you? Here it is. I've got it in my hands. This is a piece of glass. It's the same image, just different printing techniques. There is a white backing, so-called white base, and this is an opaque image. Here's a piece of glass, and you can see here that there's a white base, right? The printer does all of this with the appropriate settings. And here's the stained glass printing. It's translucent. And now, after everything I've told you a bit about myself, about the printer, about what worked for me and what didn't, it's time to move on to the most enjoyable part, probably. So what I'm offering is what you can get. Must have a printer. The rails are 2 meters on the floor, 3 meters on the shelves, and the printer height extension kit goes up to over 5 meters. I think it ends up being more than 5. Naturally, this all continues with the documentation. The documentation can be downloaded from their website. Here, there's an English version, translated into Russian and printed in Russian. World of Scheifeld, specifically, step by step, when I was just learning how to do things. World of Scheifeld, specifically step by step, when I was just learning how to do things. Instructions for the printer, for the software setup. Well, basically, all the documentation, all the explanatory material about the printer is provided here, in Russian. You don't need to translate, you don't need to figure things out, you just need to learn. Here is all the documentation. Next, in this thing, since it will need to be taken off, cleaned, disassembled, and reassembled all the time, things get lost, I bought a set of these from those same Chinese manufacturers. This didn't come with it. I bought it separately. I think this includes all the sizes that are used specifically in this printer. It's also a small set, a big one. You can see by the quantity. I'm giving everything away. Next, this set came with the printer. The printer, as I already said, is in new condition. Everything here is new. And when it comes to talking with people, we'll discuss more specific details about the purchase. I'll explain what your risks are, what you need to buy, and what you should consider getting. The main consumables in this device, in this printer, are just 3. Paint. Then there's the print head. Dampers, those are the filters. Here are the optical cables. Here are the cables. And this is the height for when you're making a 5-meter printer. Here are the tubes for the paint. Here, oh, there's just so much stuff. Basically all sorts of little micro motors. I'm repeating, there's even a flash drive for the software. Without it, the printer won't work. Here it is, it's right here. I'm even giving away the paint. When I bought the printer, I got 2 sets of paint. One is used up and one is almost full. So I have 4 paints here. They've only been opened a little. They're practically full bottles. Here's the printer. I'll take care of it. It will be packed in a plywood container. I will personally make it with my own hands because I've been working on this for about 6 months. The printer will be shipped. It will be secured properly. I'll show you everything. So before I send it, I'll take photos and videos for you. How it's packed, how secure it is, what it looks like, that I've included everything. We will discuss all of this with the person who will decide to buy this printer.